You will want to open the textbooks and publishers database that we did in the last module, which is saved in your Module 1 Access folder. We are going to save this with the same name in the Access to module folder. File, Save As, and we're going to save the database as, and this time we are going to choose the Module 2 folder, and we'll give it the same name, Textbooks and Publishers, and it has a 1 after it on mine. Yours may not. Enable the content. We are going to create a query based on the textbooks table that displays all books from Cengage, CEN. We will save the query as Textbooks by Cengage. To create a query, we are going to click the Create tab on the ribbon, select Query Design from the Queries group. Select Textbooks because this is a table on which we are going to base the query, and select Add. Click Close to click the Show Table dialog box. We are going to click on the horizontal rule between the two sections and drag up to give us a little more room at the bottom, and then place your cursor on the bottom of the field list until it turns to a double-pointed arrow. Click and drag down until all your fields are visible. We are going to bring down all of the fields from our field list. Double-click on each of the field names. All of the fields are now in the design grid. We only want those where the publisher ID is Cengage, so we're going to scroll to the right until we can see Publisher ID. Notice where it says Criteria. We're going to move across, and under Publisher ID, in the Criteria row, we are going to type CEN. Now we are going to click the Run icon in the Results group to display our results. And as we scroll across, we're going to be able to see that the publisher ID for all three of these are CEN. We are seeing the first result, 1 of 3. We could see the second result, we'll highlight it, and the third result. We are going to save our query, so we're going to right-click on the Query 1 tab and choose Close. Do you want to save the changes to the design of your query? Yes. And we are going to name this Textbooks by Cengage and click OK. It closes, and we now have a new Textbooks by Cengage query in our Queries object. We are going to create a query where the author name begins with D and save the file with authors BEG with D. Click Create on the ribbon, Query Design in the Queries group. Select Textbooks, Add, and close the Show Table. Set up the field list so that we can see all of the fields in the field list, and drag the bottom grid up. Bring down all the fields. Now you don't have to put all the fields in the grid, only those that you want. We want them where the author name. So we need to look for author name and go to the criteria row. We want it where the authors begin with D. This is where we're going to use a wildcard. The asterisk stands for any number of characters, and the question mark stands for one character. So we know that we want it to begin with D, so we'll type a D. All of the other characters can be anything, so we'll use Shift 8 to put in an asterisk. And now we have author names that begin with D, followed by anything. Let's click Run in the results group, and we'll look at the author's names, and they both begin with D. We have 2 results in our results set. We're going to right-click Save, and we're going to save this query as Authors BEG with D, and click OK. We are now going to switch to Design View, and we're going to make it so the author name does not display in the results set. Notice before we do this that we had 2 results. We're going to go to View, Design View, and we're going to go to the Show row, go all the way across to Author Name. And then we're going to run the query again. Notice that we still have 2 results, but the author name does not display. We're going to right-click, Save. Switch to Design View and clear the grid. Put our cursor over the first field and drag, delete. We are going to add book ID, book title, author name, and publisher ID. We are going to create what is called a parameter query. A parameter query is where the user types the criteria when the query is run. So we're looking for all publishers as a parameter. So we're going to go to Publisher ID and click under Criteria. Type square bracket, enter Publisher ID, square bracket. What we type between the square brackets is the prompt that will show in the text box when the query is run. So click Run in the results group, and notice the Enter Publisher ID is what we typed as the criteria. We are going to type a Publisher ID, CEN, and click OK. Notice that all the publishers whose ID is CEN display. We are going to save this with a different name, so we're going to choose File, Save As, Save Object As, and then Save As, and we can give it a new name, which is Publisher Parameter Query, and click OK. Close the query. Create a new query based on the textbooks table where the new book price is less than 100 and the total pages is greater than 800. Show the book ID, book title, new book price, and total pages. We're going to go to Create, Query Design on the textbooks table, adjust the grid, and bring down book ID, book title, new book price, and total pages. Our criteria is that the new book price is less than 100. So we're going to click in the criteria under new book price, And we're going to use a comparison operator, the less than symbol, and type 100. And we also want the total pages is greater than 800. So we're going to go to total pages. We're going to use the greater than symbol and type 800. Notice that both of our criteria are on the same row. This is an AND criteria, which means that the results must meet both of these criteria. Click Run, and notice that we have only one book where the new book price is less than 100 and the total pages is greater than 800. We are going to right-click, save, and we are going to save this as new book price less than 100 and total pages greater than 800. And click OK. In the AND criteria that we just ran, there was one result where the new book price was less than 100 and the total pages was greater than 800. Switch to Design View, and we are going to remove the greater than 800 criteria from the total pages, and we're going to put it in the OR row for total pages. So we're moving down to the OR row and putting in the greater than 800. Now, I have a question. Do you think we are going to get more results with the AND criteria or with the OR criteria? With the AND criteria, the records that display must match both criteria. With the OR criteria, the results must match only one or the other. Let's run the query, and notice with the OR criteria, we got 2 results. With the AND criteria, we got only 1. We are going to save this file, save as, save object as, save as, and we are going to name this one new book price less than 100 or total pages greater than 800. And click OK. We are going to switch to Design View and clear the grid. Add Publisher ID and book title to the grid. We are going to sort by Publisher ID. So we are going to click in the Sort row for Publisher ID and click the down arrow. Ascending means we would sort from A to Z. Descending means we would sort from Z to A. We want descending. And we're going to sort book title ascending. So we have Publisher ID descending, book title ascending. We're going to run the query. And notice that descending, we have PHL, PHL, CEN, 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 BJL. Then within PHL, PHL, we are ascending the titles JN, BMP, C. We are going to save this with a new name, File, save as, save object as, save as, and we are naming this textbooks sorted by publisher ID and book title, and click OK. Let's close this query. We are going to create a new query in Design View. Create Query Design. Add the textbooks table, close, and we can close the property sheet if it's open. We're setting up our design window. Add the Publisher ID field to the grid. And let's run this to see what we get. Notice that we have multiple CENs, multiple PHLs. Go back to View, Design View, and I would like to see only one of each of this. So we need to hide the duplicates. Click in the next blank column in the grid. In the Show Hide group, click the Property Sheet icon. Scroll down till you see Unique Values No. Click the down arrow and select Yes. Run the query again, and you will see that we do not have any duplicates. We are going to save the query as Unique Publishers and click OK. Go back to Design View, and we are going to clear the grid, and we can close our property sheet. We are going to add the book title and the new book price to the grid. We are going to sort ascending by new book price. Sometimes you may not want to display all of the records. You may want the top 25% or the top 5 records, for example. In our case, we are going to display the top 2 results. So click the down arrow in the Query Setup group beside Return, and you do not see a 2, so we are going to change the all to 2. And sometimes you have to click to the right of it and then backspace, and I'm having a hard time catching that right there. Let's try it. Doesn't want me to change it right here. I'm going to come up and go ahead across and see if I can get it to delete. There we go. And type a 2, and then we're going to run the query. Notice that we have only 2 results. We're going to save this, File, Save As, Save Object As, and we are going to save it as 2 least expensive books. And click OK. Go back to Design View, and we'll change the return back to all. We are going to clear the grid. Sometimes we may want to display fields from more than one table. To add the Publisher table to the Design View, make sure that the Query Tools Design tab is selected and click the Show Table icon in the Query Setup group. Select Publishers, Add, and Close. Notice that there is a line between Publisher ID in the Publishers table and Publisher ID in the Textbooks table. This is called the join line or the relationship line. It lets you select fields from more than one table. we're going to select the publisher ID field from the publishers table and the author's name from the textbooks table. Now we need to modify the query so all publishers show, even if they have not published any books. Let's run this. Notice that we have 3 publishers, BJL, CEN, and PHL. But in our publishers table, we have 4 publishers. So this means that we're missing a publisher. Why? Because when you display records, they only display if there is something in both tables. So let's go back to View, Design View, and we're going to click on the relationship line, right-click, and select Join Properties. We want to see all publishers. So notice that option 3 says include all records from publishers. Click 3, click OK, and now let's run the query again. We now have a new publisher, LLE, that doesn't have any authors. We're going to save this query as all publishers and authors. And click OK. Return to Design View and clear the grid. We may also want to go back to the default and select number 1, which says only include rows where the join fields from both tables are equal. Add book ID, book title, new book price, and used book price to the grid. Now we are going to add what is called a calculated field. We want to take the new book price, subtract the used book price, and find the difference. Click in the next blank column in the grid. Right-click Zoom to bring up a Zoom dialog box to type our formula. Now there's a set of steps that you follow for this. The first step is to give the new field a name. Let's call it diff new and used books. Then we type a colon to tell Access we're done giving it a name. Now we need to type our formula. I'm going to click in the title bar and drag this down a little bit so you can see what fields are in our table. We are going to take new book price. Notice that that is in our table, so it needs to have square brackets around it. We are going to subtract minus used book price. Used book price is in our table, so we can put it in square brackets. Used book price, square bracket. So we have diff new and used books, colon, square bracket, new book price, square bracket, minus square bracket, used book price, square bracket. Click OK and run the query. We may need to widen the diff new and used books, but notice that we have a new calculated field. We are going to save the query with a new name. File, Save As, Save Object As, and we're going to call this Difference New Used Books. I noticed I left an E out here. Click OK, and we're going to go back to View, Design View, and clear the grid. We are going to add the new book price and the used book price to the grid. We want to find the average new book price and the average used book price. Average is a statistic along with sum, min, max, count, etc. To use a statistic, we need to go to the Show Hide group and click the Totals icon. A new total row displays above the sort row in the design grid. The words Group By are in the total row. Click the Group By in the new book price, click the down arrow and select Average. Go to Use Book Price and click in the Group By and choose Average. So we have the average new book price and the average used book price. Select Run, and we have one number, and we're going to double click between them so that we can see everything. Now we have $112.71 for the average new book price and $85.75 for the average used book price. Let's choose File, Save As, Save Object As, and we are going to save this as average new and used book price. Click OK. And I may have tried this before. Simply save this. And we are going to return to the design grid and clear the grid. Let's close this, but do not save because we've cleared the grid. Let's open the average new and used books. Notice it says average of new book price, average of used book price. That's a very long title which doesn't flow well. We are going to go back to View, Design View, and we are going to add a caption that says average new book price and average used book price. Click in the new book price, click the property sheet in the Show Hide group, and under caption we are going to type average new book price. Now click in the used book price and we're going to type average used book price. And now when we run the query, it says average new book price, average used book price. Let's save the query, and we're going to return to Design View. Let's close the property sheet. Instead of showing the average of all books, let's show the average grouped by publisher ID. One way to do that is to simply take the publisher ID, drag it down and drop it on the first field. It will go to the left of where we dropped it. Now let's see the difference when we run this. Now we have the average new book price by BJL publisher, the average book price by Cengage, and the average book price by PHL. So now we're going to save this, File, Save As, Save Object As, and we're going to call it AVG Book Prices Grouped by PubCo, and click OK. Let's close the query. We are going to create a crosstab query based on the textbooks table. A crosstab query shows information in a way that may be more understandable. Click the Create tab on the ribbon. Click the Query Wizard in the Query group. Click the Crosstab Query Wizard and click OK. A wizard asks us a question, and once we've answered it, we click the Next button. Which table or query contains the fields you want for the crosstab? Let's choose the larger table, textbooks, and click Next. Which fields do you want to show along the row? This would be here. Along the row, we want the publisher ID. Select it and move it to Selected Fields. Click Next. Which fields do you want for the columns? We are going to use Book ID. You should not use the calculated column here. So we're going to choose Book ID and select Next. What number do you want calculated? We're going to calculate total pages, and we want to sum them, so we're going to choose Sum and click Next. We need to give our crosstab query a name. We're going to call it Total Pages by Book, Title, and Publisher, and click Finish. Notice how easy it is. I'm going to widen this. Notice how easy it is to see the information, the publisher, and all of the information that we have. We can see that we've added together to get the sum here. We're going to close this. It will ask us to save because we widened the column. Select Yes, and then you can close the database.